What's good, everybody? It's Elufusjames along with Big Mike up in Cali, and we're doing this podcast because Mike, can you can you smell what's in the air right now?
Smell like astroturf hot dogs to me.
And no, we're not talking about the carpet time either. We're talking about the time where the rubber is baking from the hot sun in the summer because pads about to start clapping. Pigskins are getting full as we're about to start chucking them downfield. Yeah, that's right, people. It's football season. Big Mike, welcome back to football season.
It's good to be back.
It sure is. Guys, we're doing a special podcast. Yes, it has been a while, but, we do have busy lives. But at the same time, we are going to make an attempt. Yes, make an attempt. Knock on wood, everything go well, that we will be every Wednesday from here on out, at least until we get a fantasy champion in the CHFFL. So, Big Mike, how was your off season, man?
It's pretty good. Made a little money, took a few trips. I actually managed to not start prepping for fantasy football until about a month ago. So we should be straight.
Which is new for you because usually January is when you start prepping anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, ever since
you gotta take a break.
Right, ever since it was introduced to you back in 2007. I mean, sometimes it'd be 2, 3, 4 years straight before you even stop looking at something. So
what can I say? I'm obsessive.
You are, but you have a right to be because from what I remember correctly, you are the champion.
Yeah, it's good to be back in the winner circle.
Does it? So it's your second one. How does it feel? Does it feel better than the first one, or does it feel good to get back on the high horse after getting knocked off it?
It feels like there was too much time in between. It's not quite the same if you are the coach of one team and you do something nice with that team, and then you don't really win again until years later on another squad. I know I haven't stopped participating in the league, but it still feels like there was so much time. It might as well have been another franchise.
Sounds good. So, people, ladies, gents, maybe fellas only listen to this podcast. Who knows? Don't care. To whom it may be. We are basically having this podcast right now just to talk about a few announcements for the league, along with the big announcement that we're going to be pretty much trying to do this every Wednesday. We're doing this every Wednesday because of the fact that we want to have not only a recap of the games before, but a preview of the games before everything starts on Thursday. Because once September 7th, I believe, comes around, it's Thursday games all the way up through Christmas. So, before we want to try to get it done by Wednesday. So, without further ado, let's take a look at a couple of things that changed over the offseason as far as rules go. And as you can see right here, here's the home league page. We've been updating the top 12 CHFFL, which is a new thing we're going to try and do every year, depending on how the missus feels about Elufusjames typing all these league pages. Right now, she's on board. So everything's all good for everybody there. But let's take a look at a couple of the changes that has happened. So here's a couple of the things that has changed. We have added bonus points for scoring categories. 200 plus yard rushing game, 200 plus yard receiving game, and 400 plus yard passing game. And even though the league is pretty offensive, Mike, it hasn't really happened that much as far as 400 plus yard games and 200 plus yard receiving and rushing games.
Well, the thing about the bonus points, they're about making owners feel satisfied. Feel like they got some kind of reward for starting, Julian Edelman over Antonio Brown, if you do a silly thing like that. Sometimes you have a hunch, and sometimes the hunch pays off, and the bonus points are a good way to, let you say, look, I was right to other people.
Yeah, exactly right. We also, keeping up with the trend of the NFL, we added 1 point scoring category for safety returns for the defense and 2 point returns for the defense as well. That was not added last year. It was a rule change by the NFL last year, so therefore we made sure that that's in there as well.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Seems logical. I'm sure a lot of people wondered how the scoring for DSTs came to be done the way that they were done, and clarification and updates are always good unless it's Windows 10.
That's exactly true. Another big change that came about was punt return yardage and kickoff return yardage for the player, not the special teams. The player. Bless you, my brother.
Thanks.
So this is a big deal because people like Antonio Brown, Odell Beckham Jr. when he acting right, Tyreek Hill, even David Johnson sometimes last year had some return yardage. So for every 10 yards, it's 0.5 points, not one. It's 0.5 because you can rack those up like no other.
Well, I think that you deserve to get all of the performance that a player puts up on the field. If they line up at quarterback for some reason and throw a flea flicker, I don't see why you wouldn't get the points for that. If the guy's normally a receiver, so give players credit, give them their due.
That is true. Another big change that came about, we changed the keeper count this year. Is no longer going to be 3 at your discretion. It will be 2. So you can still keep up to 2. You can keep none. We just felt like the draft would be a whole lot better when there's a little bit more talent in the pool.
Well, I mean, quiet as kept, roster management is important, but you don't want to have so many keepers that the draft is just a formality, right? If you look at your team from year to year, championship teams might trend more towards the balanced, but I would fully expect that the majority of the production from the majority of teams in a given league comes from 4 players, right? So
right.
It's like, if you're going to have all of that locked in already and the rest of the guys are just fill-in dollar scrubs, what's the point of the draft?
No point at all.
In a league that doesn't have keepers, the draft is definitely, almost certainly, where you win or lose the league. So we don't want to take the skill out of the game by having too many.
Right. Another change, minor changes that we changed the max at running backs from 5 to 6, matching it with wide receivers. Just a minor change. It does kind of change it up a little bit in free agency, but it will just even out the positions at running back and wide receiver at 6 maximum. Then the other big change that happened is the waiver wire system is no longer based on inverse standings. It is a free agency auction budget. Everybody will start out with $150, and if you want to add a player on your team, you have to bid for that player, and it'll happen in increments of, after the game's on Monday, you can bid on Tuesday just like you would on waiver wire, add on Tuesday, and you'll figure out who you got on Wednesday. Same thing. And then after that, every day from there on out will actually be you bidding, and the next day you'll figure out if you got that player or not. This is going to be a big change, Mike.
Well, I'm not sure because, when we were all discussing the changes, I think we did the math and it worked out to, if you were making fill-in pickups, you have the budget to do 2 or 3 every week, and most people don't even average that many. It will be unnoticeable unless your strategy was to stream like tight ends, defensive kickers, something like that. But it'll also give us the benefit of kind of pulling back, on those just in case acquisitions. I think it's a good thing.
is a good thing, especially against people that like to just pluck Odell Beckham Jr. for the cheap and then only have to spend $11 total on him, even though, I mean, I guess in his own right, Cougars, he did make a good pickup. But this also kind of protects against that.
Yeah.
So there you have it. That's pretty much basically all the rule changes that had changed this year. Not too much, but the big one was definitely the free agency auction budget. Just to remind everyone, Thursdays is usually the days that gets updated for the top 12 CHFFL. We're out now on number 4, and number 4 will be Nothing But Heart from last year. So the league page will be updated here shortly, and then Mike, we will be on next Wednesday to talk about the East Division as far as what to expect from owners based on what was posted on the hashtag Top 12 CHFFL. Talk about draft tendencies a little bit and a little bit of the schedule just to see how these matchups fall out.
Well, owner analysis is a separate science entirely from player analysis, so this should be interesting.
It should be very interesting. But, well, fellas, that is all that we have for this call and this podcast. So, getting a little click happy. It's still off season for us, so excuse us. The little minor technical difficulties, but yep, there you have it. There's the announcement podcast. We'll be back. We'll be better than ever next time. For Big Mike, it's Elufusjames signing out.